Joining us is Bobcats head coach Paul Trosclair. Coach, your team last season finished 9-1 in the regular season, won that first playoff game, and like the other major boy sports team, they were bitten by that second-round playoff game. Knowing that your team is ranked 7th right now, does that put a little bit more pressure on you, not necessarily just to win games, but to keep your players mentally focused, knowing they're supposed to perform so well this season?
Well, we have a tough schedule, so we have to be mentally ready. The ranking really is meaningless. That's just people's opinion, and really you have to play it on the football field. And if we're not ready with the schedule we have, we'll be unranked soon.
Let's talk about the very first game before we get into some of the players and your offensive and defensive philosophies. Does it magnify the importance of the first game, considering you're playing a quality opponent like Opelousas? It's on the road, and then you have 6 of your next games, of your next 8 games at home.
Well, it's not the first game that we really would like to play, but it's the only game I could find. And but I wanted to challenge our football team, so this is a challenge. And being on the road is more of a challenge. And Opelousas has 18 starters back, so we'll find out exactly where we stand Friday night.
Now, Opelousas ran the ball pretty well against Bo Shane, and they had some receivers open, although their passing game wasn't as successful as it should have been. What do you look from them in this game, just to attack you through the running game offensively?
We expect a very physical football game. I think they're going to attack us and run right at us. And that's been, if we have a weakness on defense, it's been the straight-ahead attack. And I think they will exploit that. And, of course, they'll throw the ball some. I hope those receivers continue to drop those passes they did Friday night.
Now, let's talk about your defense. Does it, with John Beltran, who's now at the linebacker position, I've been told that Eunice High really over the past several years has never really had a linebacker who can run from sideline to sideline like a John Beltran. How's the adjustment been for him?
Well, our linebackers last year were very good, but they were 5'9" and 5'7". Brendan happens to be 6'5", so you can see him running from side to side. You couldn't see the ones last year, but they were really excellent linebackers, Frank O'Gilly and Jason Fontenot. But Brendan's really adapted well. I think he's a natural for that position.
And what about Harry Frank? Obviously, he's an all-stater. He's the anchor of the defense. Is too much made of this that 4 players are returning from last year's team as starters, and now maybe it puts a little bit more pressure on Harry Frank because he's got some inexperience with him on the defensive line?
Well, we do have a little inexperience there, but we have some pretty good players there, and it's just they need some game experience. And you know, Harry is he's the guy everybody looks to make the big plays, and he needs to come through for us.
Now, I know last year you had a freshman team that finished undefeated, and you have 24 sophomores on this ball club. Fred Guillory played a pretty good game against Port Barre in the Jamboree. Do you have any other sophomores who will be coming up and playing, or will they be coming in when the game is really out of hand?
Well, Fred's probably the only sophomore right now that could step on the field anytime and play against anybody. He's really advanced. You know, this is a good class, and we look for him next year to move up. They'll have to step up next year.
Now, offensively, Josh Andrus of St. Edmunds, he kicks, he punts, and he quarterbacks, and Donnie Bollock does the same. Is there anything this guy can do?
I haven't found it yet. Donnie's a great student, a great kid to be around. He does everything for us. He played defensive back last year, so he wants to play there now. We just won't let him. He could do that if we needed that also.
Now, staying with the offense, a couple of weeks ago at a Booster Club meeting, you said that the offense couldn't penetrate through the defense. Was your defense that good, and has your offense improved after their excellent performance against Port Barre?
Well, what happens is your defense goes against your offense so much that they know everything you do. They know our offense as well as we do, so it makes it much more difficult. And I think going against a different team showed that we do have some offensive firepower, and we can move the football.
Sometimes your offense's greatest challenges during practice against this defense?
It gets pretty tough now. We don't do it much during the season, but during the spring we match up almost every day, and it's a pretty good battle.
Now, a lot of coaches talk about balance. They like to run and pass a certain amount of times, but with the success of your running game, especially if it continues throughout the course of the regular season, are you just going to pass in situations where maybe you need some big-time yardage in a very quick amount of time?
Well, we like to run the football. There are some teams you play against that take it away from you. Then I think our passing game will really come in for us. And you know, we feel like that makes us balanced. We can pass if we need to pass the football.
Now, Donnie threw just 2 complete passes, one for 50 and one to 20 for 20 yards to Kyrus Hebert in the Jamboree. Let's talk about your receivers besides Kyrus Hebert, who I thought ran some excellent routes. When Donnie threw it to him, he was wide open.
Besides Kyrus, who's a great receiver, we have Roy Gilry, and Roy also plays cornerback for us, and then we have Casey Pettigo. And we have a pretty good receiving core. We feel good about throwing the football to him.
Now, looking at special teams a little bit very quickly, because that was a problem during St. Edmund's Jamboree. Your special team seemed to play pretty well, except with the opening kickoff, if I remember correctly, against Port Barry. How does the special teams stand right now? Because in close games, special teams can often really make the difference.
We feel pretty good about our special teams. The only letdown we had was our kickoff coverage. It was terrible. And usually at this time of year, most people's kickoff coverage is pretty bad. It needs to get a lot better Friday night.
Has your team caught up with the rest of the teams in the district, namely Crowley, since they lost so many players who really are playing Division I ball right now?
Well, we don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see how they do through the course of the season. But Crowley's always going to turn it up against Eunice. You can count on that. It doesn't matter. They may not win a game until then, but they'll be ready to play.
Now let's talk about 6 home games you have. How important is that for this team? Some people say, well, it's better at higher levels in college and pro where you have 5 figures of people watching a ball game at your home stadium. Here you might have 3, 4, 5,000, whatever the number may be, but you got to be comfortable about 6 home games for you.
Well, the thing about it is we play well on the road. It's been that way the last couple of years. So we're hoping that it provides an advantage for us, but we haven't seen that yet.
And the rest of your district schedule, you have DeRidder, you have Leesville. Again, you've only got a couple of district games on the road, so you're feeling confident with your team on the road that they'll be able to perform no matter what.
You know, the past couple of years, our teams have been a good road team, and it needs to be. We have to go to DeRidder, and that's going to be a big game because it's our first district game. Then we finish at Leesville, and you know, we played great at Leesville last year, so we're looking for another good game that night.
Now, I know that the goal is to obviously get to the Superdome, but what does this team have to do to exceed last year's team, finishing 10-2, and get past that second round of the playoffs?
Well, a lot of it depends on your luck of the draw sometimes. You know, last year losing to Crowley put us in a bracket with John Curtis, Walsman, Hammond, and you know, if you fall into that type bracket and if you don't play your best game, you're going to be out. We need to coming out first in our district would give us a chance to have a better bracket, I think, in the playoffs.
So basically the solution is just to simply win the district and perhaps have a better draw.
That would give us a better opportunity, I feel.
Now, approaching midpoint of the season, let's say your team wins 4 or 5 games, you're out to a good start. Injuries sometimes become a concern. How's the depth of this team?
It's not very good. It's not as good as it was last year. Our offensive line and defensive lines are real thin. And we thought we lost Bobby Hamas Friday night, and he's a strong offensive lineman, but he will play Friday. So, you know, it's not very good.
So what's the solution to that? Basically to keep your players healthy, or are there certain times where you might rotate some players in and out of the game? We'll
try to bring the younger guys along in case we need them, because we do have some fill-ins if we need them. It's just we need to be a little lucky on that side, too. That makes a difference.
Now, I just want to address one player in particular who I talked about before, which is Donnie Bollock. If he happens to get injured, obviously there's several roles to fulfill. Who'll be the quarterback, the kicker, the punter, and all those situations, even though hopefully that never happens throughout the course of the regular season?
Well, right now, Derek Myers is our starting strong safety. He's a backup quarterback. He also kicks extra points like Donnie does, and he also kicks off. The punting would be up for grabs, but Derek can do almost everything Donnie does. He's an excellent athlete. The bad part about it for Derek, he's a senior also.
Coach, good luck Friday against Opelousas.
Well, thanks a lot. We'll need it.